Okay, February was a big reading month for me. There were a good variety of books. I feel like I read a lot of series this month too. I had a lot of audiobooks, but overall, I think there was decent variety. So I thought it would be a good opportunity to do a reading wrap up. I read 21 books this month, which is a lot, especially with how short the month is. I did audiobook a lot of books too, but I'll just jump right into it. First, House of Flame and Shadow. I actually don't think I read one page from this physical copy book because I did have it pre-ordered on my Kindle too, but I did go out day of and get the Walmart edition because I wanted the specific bonus chapter that this one had. I gave this book 5 stars. Was this the best book in the series? No. Did it probably realistically deserve 5 stars? No, but I really love the Crescent City series. This book was not what I expected it to be when it did not meet the expectations I had, but when reading it I realized the expectations I had were unreasonable or unrealistic given characters in this world and how they would react to certain things. So I became a more understanding reader while reading this, but overall it was super fun. I did not want to put it down. I highly recommend this series. This is probably, sadly, the worst one in the series. Very, very unfortunate, but I still thoroughly enjoyed myself. I enjoyed the pieces we got. I'm excited to see how stories progress from this. I know it will probably be several years until there is another Crescent City book though, and based on how this one ended, I think that's okay. Although the ending might have been kind of lame, I think lame endings are necessary when it's going to be like 3 years until we get another one. So, first one, this is technically my first 5-star read of the year, but no matter what, I was going to be giving this 5 stars because I'm biased, but I'm acknowledging my bias, so it's okay, right? After finishing that, I, the same night, immediately read Summer of Broken Dreams by K.L. Walther. I actually also read this on my Kindle because I bought it, but it is part of Kindle Unlimited, so I just read it on my Kindle. And I read her other book, which is What Happens After Midnight, and I liked that one more than this one. Whatever book I read right after House of Flame and Shadow, it was going to be hard for that book. I think I gave this one, I think I gave this 2.5 stars. It was entertaining. I liked that it was in Martha's Vineyard because I'm familiar with the vineyard. They talked about backdoor donuts, and it gave everything this book should have given. It would be a fun beach read for sure. Next, I read several books on my Kindle. I read books from the Veronica Spedwell series. Can't remember the author's name right now, but I read books 3 through 5. No, books 2 through 5. So, A Perilous Undertaking, A Treacherous Curse, A Dangerous Collaboration, and A Murderous Relation. So books 2 and 3 I gave 2 stars, and books 4 and 5 I gave 4 stars. This series it's fun. It's a super quick reads. I don't feel like I need to go super into it. It's a Victorian setting. The female main character hunts butterflies, and her sidekick Buddy also does something in the scientific field. I think a lot with like biology, something like that. And they kind of just get tossed into these scenarios where they are trying to figure out crimes. And it is just like silly fun, pretty much. But which ones? A Dangerous Collaboration and A Murderous Relation I thought were really, really good. Because these are just kind of like cozy mysteries, like they're not too serious, but those I thought were surprisingly good for how I view the series as a whole. Next, I didn't do these all in a row, but I'm going to talk about them at the same time. I audiobooked the This Woven Kingdom series, and the third book came out this month, which was All This Twisted Glory. It's by, oh god, I'm not going to say her, I don't remember how to say her first name exactly, but it's the same author who wrote Shatter Me. So I thought it would be a fun series, and I audiobooked This Woven Kingdom, and I really liked it. I thought it was so interesting. It's this world where there are like typical humans, and then there are people who have like magic in their bodies, are born with like slight magic, and these people have been at war with each other historically, but like the humans kind of rule everything now. And there was a like ice queen or something, but like the prophecy was that there would be somebody born with like ice in their veins, and they would lead to like the freedom of their people. And we find our female main character was born with ice in her veins, and it's kind of like a cat and mouse game between like the prince and the female main character who is supposed to lead her people. But she's like in hiding, like all of her family is gone, she's on her own, and she just lives a very simple life as a like a housekeeper or a maid to a wealthy family. And chaos ensues pretty much. And I thought the first book was so entertaining. I wanted to know what was happening. Like, I did not want to stop audiobooking it. And then the next two were just such a disappointment. The first one I gave 4.5 stars. That's how entertained I was. And then the next two, I think just both got 2 stars. Yeah. These Infinite Threads and All This Twisted Glory, 2 stars. You not understand how disappointed I was with the sequels after the first book. Absolutely nothing happened in the second book. The whole second book took place over like less than 48 hours after the end of the first book, and nothing happened. Nothing of substance. Like, so much could have happened, yet nothing did. And then the same thing for book 3. Absolutely like nothing happened. And I don't know if this was just my incorrect assumption or if it was said at some point that this was supposed to be a trilogy, but it's going to be so much more because nothing has happened in book 2 and 3. Anyways, book 1, so good, goes severely downhill in my opinion afterwards. I don't like some of the new characters that were introduced in book 2. I do not care for them like at all. So read at your own risk. Book 1, great though, which is what makes it so upsetting. I think I will continue on with the series when it eventually comes back out again. I will audiobook it because I will not waste my money on buying the book. Very strong thoughts on that, sorry. But after that, I read The Last Word by Taylor Adams, and I don't really read thrillers. Like, I have read a handful, but at most I read mysteries or like YA thriller mysteries. So this was kind of different from what I usually read, and I loved it. I loved this. I read this in one night. I stayed up till 3 a.m. finishing it. It is my first true 5-star of the year. That's how much I liked this. Surprising for me. This book follows a main character who something has happened in her recent past, and she is house sitting for this coastal home, and she reads this like book on her Kindle, and it's so bad she like leaves a 1-star review, and not a very nice one, and the author like claps back at her. And then some weird stuff starts happening, and she's like, surely the author has not found me in this very secluded house that I'm house sitting at. And so the book goes on. I really enjoyed this book so much. Next I read Sorcery of Thorns. Now, somebody told me that this book is similar to Little Thieves, not in the not by means of like plot or anything, but just like a feeling or like the relationship between characters. I don't know if I quite got that because I love Little Thieves, but this was still a fun and interesting book. I don't even know how to describe this book. Our female main character is like a a librarian soldier. That's such a bad description of it, but there are magical books in this world, and some of them are bad. Like, there is bad magic in them. They are dangerous books. So she has been training to be like the keeper of these dangerous magical books. And somehow these books are breaking out of the libraries and harming people and causing chaos, and she gets accused of letting one out, and then she meets sorcerers, and I did enjoy this once I got into it. I think I gave this, I gave this 3.25. I'm being very picky this year because I feel like I gave so many books 5 stars, and when I looked back at what I rated books, I felt differently. So I'm trying to be strict. So I gave this 3.25 stars, but I did really enjoy reading this. I had a fun time. There was nothing like not good about this book. It was good. It was what I needed. It was a fun, interesting fantasy. I do have the little novella that comes after this, so I am excited to get to that some point soon. Next, I read Archer's Voice. This is kind of surprising for me. I did not think I'd be reading this book. I've heard about this book for almost 2 years and had never felt the need to read it until recently, and I'm not upset about it. I enjoyed this book. I gave it, again, 3.25. It was interesting. It was not like a rom-com-y book, and I feel like a lot of the romance books I've read have been rom-com-y books, so it was nice. It was different for me. The main character, Archer, does not speak to anyone, and a new girl comes to town, and she's like the only person that he communicates, and she figures out what is going on in this town while dealing with her own issues and traumas. I enjoyed it. I had a good time. Next, I read A Fragile Enchantment, and then I gave this 3 stars. Honestly, if I wanted to be really harsh, I could give this like a 2.75. Like, I just think this is going to be a pretty forgettable book for me. If you have nothing else to read, I would recommend this, but it was just all right. It had the makings to be interesting. I just feel like maybe this could have been better as a series. I don't really know. I don't know what should have been different, but this book is like Victorian England. It is kind of like Bridgerton. There's someone anonymously publishing stuff in newspapers. There's like previous wars between different groups of people, and our main character gets called into like the city to help design a wardrobe for the upcoming wedding between the prince and his fiance, and all sorts of stuff happens. But the magic was interesting. She can, like, the stuff that she creates has magic inside it, so it can make the person like really happy, or make people who look at the person wearing her clothing like feel happy and stuff like that. I don't know. This was a very weird book. It was all right. Next, I have the Bromance Book Club, and I really liked this. I gave this 4 stars. I had such a fun time reading this. This is a second chance romance. The wife wants to get a divorce after some big argument that happened, and the husband, who I think he was a baseball player, his buddies come find him and they're like, we're gonna help you. We're gonna help you fix this. And they introduce him to their book club where they read romance novels to try to help understand their significant others better. And I thought it was just cute. This was cute and fun, and I would definitely continue reading this book series. Oh, I actually gave it 3.5. I don't know why I thought I gave it 4. I gave it 3.5. I'm being picky, like I said. Next, I read Bride. I read that on my Kindle, and I had absolutely no thoughts or expectations going into this book. It is a paranormal romance by Ali Hazelwood with vampires and werewolves, and I have not really read books like that before. Books that are like more romance than fantasy. So I had no thoughts going into it, but I really enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. It's a kind of weird book for sure. From what I've seen online, I don't know. I feel like it seems like she was channeling her like fanfic in it. I didn't mind. I had a good old time. I read it in like one day. I was entertained. It is a little bit more political. It's not like super heavy on the romance, I feel like, but I enjoyed it. I had a good old time. That one I gave 4 stars. After that, again on my Kindle, I read Bringing Down the Duke, which is the first book in a series, and this one, it is Regency England? I don't know exactly. It is old time England, and our female main character is going to college, Oxford College. She's like one of the first women to like receive higher education. She's also working with the suffragist movement, and she becomes involved with this duke, and this duke is involved in politics. He is helping the Tory party, which, you know, kind of oppose the suffragists. And it's an interesting little back and forth. And this book, again, it was fine. It was nothing crazy. I don't think I'm gonna read any more books in this series for it, but it was entertaining. I don't really have too many thoughts on it. And I gave that one 3 stars. Oh! Then I read these. I read the whole Prison Healer series, and this was a highlight of reading this month for me. I had so much fun reading this series. I don't know what to say. This was giving what I needed. I thought every single one of these was really good. I think maybe the last one was the best, but then the first one was also really good too. I gave them, the first 2 I gave 4 stars, and then this one, the last one, The Blood Trader, I gave 4.25. So picky of me, I know. But yeah, this was like absolutely perfect for me. The series follows our female main character. She is the prison healer in this really, really bad prison where people pretty much go to till they die, for all sorts of crimes. She ended up in this prison when she was like 7 years old because her dad was captured for like believed treason, despite there being no proof. And she's been there for like the last decade. And she's the prison healer, so she helps heal anybody who has any ailments in the facility and then in this kingdom. And this rebel queen shows up, and there's a message from her siblings to keep the rebel queen alive, and the rebel queen has been ordered to go through what they call like this ordeal, and it is this 4 trial thing, and like nobody's ever survived the ordeal. People maybe live past like the second challenge, and the rebel queen is like incapacitated when she arrives. She is very ill. It's bad. So the main character decides to not like sacrifice, but she's like, I'm volunteering. That's it. I'm volunteering to be her champion through the trials. And yeah, that's how the first book goes. I'm not going to talk about the other 2, but I highly recommend this series. I thought it was fun. I read this book really quickly, so I didn't really focus on like any twists I thought there would be, because there are a few surprises in this book. If you are actually pacing yourself, you might figure them out, but I read this in like 2 sittings in like 2 days, so I was pretty head empty reading it, and I enjoyed it. Then I read The Scarlet Veil. And I had been putting this off, but I really enjoyed the Serpent and Dove trilogy by the same author. I don't know how to say her last name, Miss Shelby. Miss Shelby. I really enjoyed Serpent and Dove. I thought it was just like really fun. I liked the world she created. And in this one we follow Celie. She is a character from the Serpent and Dove trilogy, but we follow her this time. She's working for like their version of the police force, and people have been dying. I never know how to talk about these books without spoiling them, but there is a mystery afoot. There is a criminal and chance of getting kidnapped by vampires. I feel like that might be like the tiniest spoiler, but it's what happens so early on the book, and I really do not know how to describe this book without saying what I have said. Anyways, I had a really good time reading this. It was fun. I was engaged. I gave it a 4.25. I really want the second one to come out, but it's only going to come out in like maybe October this year. I don't even know if the release date is out, but I want it, and I want it bad. I want it bad. It was nice to see characters mentioned again. Sad too. But it was nice to be back in this world I'm already familiar with. And I'm glad I finally got to it. I got this during the 50 off Barnes & Noble hardcover sale after Christmas. She's actually even signed. Go off. And I was glad to get this off my physical TBR. Now, the last book I read this month was an audiobook. And this is like the craziest one so far. I audiobooked Juniper and Thorn, which is by Miss Ava Reid, and I really enjoyed A Study in Drowning by Ava Reid. I read it last year, and I enjoyed her writing. Specifically, I thought it was really well done. Her writing stood out to me compared to other authors I read, and I just really enjoyed it. So I was like, you know what? I don't care if some of her other books are horror. I'm gonna give it a try. So I bought the Juniper and Thorn audiobook when it was on sale one day, and I finally worked up the nerve to listen to it, because if you look at the trigger warnings for this book, they're pretty intense. I'm not gonna give them all because I'll get into it, but look them up at your own risk. I will say, I thought this was going to be so much worse than it is, because I am not a horror girly. I hate gore. Just a no-go. So I've never been interested in reading a horror book until now. I'm glad I audiobooked it. I actually did read a good amount of this book too on an ebook, but I really thought it was interesting. She writes really like folky books, and it's fun, and it's different than other books I read, so it's kind of refreshing. But I will say there definitely were moments when I was definitely making some funny faces reading it and not listening to it, but I didn't feel like the horror was too bad or too over the top. I also think there were trigger warnings that I saw that just did not occur. They did not occur. And trigger warnings that did happen were like explained after the fact. So it wasn't like as bad, I feel like. So I thought it was going to be a lot worse than it was. So that's good for me. I gave it a 3-star because I feel like not a ton happened. It was only like a 300-page book. It wasn't super long, but it follows the main character, Merlinchen. She is the third daughter of the like only sorcerer left in their land, and he is a horrible man. That's pretty much the book. He keeps her and her sisters like locked in the house until one day she sneaks out with her older sisters, and they go to the ballet, and she meets like the head ballerina there, and yeah, the rest is history, to be honest. I don't know what else to say about that book that wouldn't be a spoiler, but I thought it was interesting. I saw certain things coming. I didn't see them from the start when I probably could have. Like the signs were all there, but once we were getting to the reveal, like I knew what was happening. Overall, really fun and interesting book. Glad I read it. It is the most surprising book I got to this month. But like I said, I feel like I had a good bit of variety. I had mystery, I had thriller, I had fantasy, I had romance, I had horror. The only thing I missed was like literary fiction. I have so much to read next month too. So many books that I want to get to, which is really good because for a lot of this month, I felt like I didn't have any books that I wanted to read. And then I bought a whole bunch of books and the problem is solved. Let me know if you've read any of the books that I talked about, or if there are any that I talked about today that are in your TBR. Let me know what you thought of them, if you've read them. I'm curious. Let me know if I'm being just super unreasonably harsh. But anyways, thanks for watching today's video. Until next month.